Well, welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. I ended up making two 1/8" shims for each side. Unfortunately, that makes our bolt too short. So I could split them up and put one spacer on the bottom, one spacer on the top. I'm actually going to try finding a V6 mount, which I think is a little thicker, and that might solve my problem. Raising the entire front of the engine actually gave me really good clearance on my steering gear. I still have to make a little bit of clearance over here for my rag link. I'm actually right in the nook of this bend, but I'm actually contacting the header there, so I'm going to have to actually clearance the header there. But raising the engine helped a lot with clearance for the steering linkages, because I was thinking I was going to have to put some relief in this tube and with the raised front of the engine I think we'll be in a better position. So that puts us to a modification there and a little more at the rag link with a slightly larger engine mount that will make it sit a little taller, and I think we'll be on the road to the next step of what's going on in this. I've got good clearance over here. So, moving right along. Don't have the win yet, but we'll get it. I think I'm going to test fit our CVF system since I have it available and I'm waiting on engine mounts to show up. And honestly, I don't feel like pulling the engine out of this again right now. I'm kind of sore from that, doing that yesterday 8 or 9 times. So let's check out this CVF system, because it's friggin' cool. Oh, it's heavy. Yes, serpentine drive. CVF, they make some good stuff. Check them out. Hey, that's what I'm looking for. Crank pulley, hardware, Chrysler small and big block hub adapter. Kit. Pulley. Alternator black. Oh, that's gonna look nice. Hey, there's the water pump. Good, it comes with the kits. There's a fan. Half peanut compressor. Elevator pulley. Our steering pulley, alternator pulley, another pulley, tensioner, and we have a remote reservoir. I've been working on header fitment, and I'm pretty close with these. Now, understand that these are an inexpensive header, and I'm spending a lot of time working on them to fit because really good headers for these are like $1,300, and even the $600 ones that I've been looking at don't have the right ports for the outer tubes. So I am going to raise the engine with a different engine mount. Actually, this guy here is a V6 driver's side engine mount. And it is the same basically dimension and size and construction as the factory mount. But the factory mount, I ended up having to put a couple shims in there to get what I was looking for, and that resulted in not having enough thread from my fastener. So I found this guy. I think it's going to work pretty good. So I'm going to pull this engine out another time. I have a clearance issue on the rag link, and I have a clearance issue on the torsion bar. It's contacting right there, so I'm going to make an adjustment there. But raising the engine gave me another good amount of clearance for this, mostly. But the steering now has a full sweep without me having to modify, or at least I don't think I'm going to have to modify anything on the header tubes for the steering to pass. So that's a bonus. Now I did do some research, and unfortunately we've spent most of this gentleman's budget on engine transmission rebuild. I'm building custom exhaust for it, and we're also doing a fuel injection system and a CVF pulley system on this car. So we've pretty much spent his budget for what he's willing to do right now. In the future, on these Chrysler cars, I would go with I would work a Borgeson 800126 steering box, which is an improved steering ratio, 14:1. Give it that modern power steering feel. It's also drastically smaller for better header clearance. It weighs 10 pounds less, and it's just all the way around a good improvement. It's commonly used for power steering upgrade from manual, but it's a bolt-in swap. And then they also sell a Borgeson Universal that is a smaller diameter, which would solve the problem on the fitment to the header there as well. So all around, that would be the way to go. But that's an additional $800 on the tab on the car. But good things to know. So that's your Borgeson Universal number. So the Universal was a 036424. And that bolts directly onto the factory steering column with the upgraded box. And then the upgraded box, the 14:1, is the 800/126. So there you go. If you're wanting to put tube headers in your Chrysler, start with a gearbox that you can fit more stuff with. Lesson learned. The nice thing is that if we upgrade to that box in the future, we'll just throw these $200 headers in the trash and get a new set, and they'll look better. So that's the nice thing about using more affordable parts. The time it takes to make them fit is not a bonus. So a lot of the weight that I'm removing is up here from those exhaust manifolds. So going to the headers is going to have a handling characteristic change from removing 20 or 18 pounds, 20 pounds of weight that's up here on this side and down here on the other side. So that's really why I want to go to headers on this car. It's not for power. This car is not going to make enough power for headers to really be a noticeable difference. But I like the way they look, and I use the stainless because they're easy to manipulate and it's really quick to make modifications. I'm ready to pull this header out and pull the engine back out. I'm going to remove my shims. Oh, my engine's falling down again. Pull my shims that I made up in there, get those out of there. I was being optimist and put my gasket in there, and I was wrong. Gotta pull it out again. Gravity helping me out this time. Now I'm just going to pull the engine all the way out because I want to switch my engine mounts out for my taller ones, which I think are going to work out okay. If they don't, I'll pull it apart and do it again. Alright, so let me pull that guy out of there. And we'll make a couple more adjustments. Looks like I'll go ahead and put a new fuel line on because that's hard as a rock. Go ahead and do that. It's going to need some suspension bushings. Those are pretty dry rotted. Get those coming. Bring this car back up so this guy can enjoy this thing. It's going to be a pretty nice car. Okay, there's the roll pin you drive out. I guess you'd have to pull the column to pull the gear. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with my shift linkage. This is a column shift. Is it a column shift? I think it is. Looks like it is. Yeah, so it's column shift. And that linkage seems to clear these headers. I've read that that headers interfere with that linkage on some other headers, but they don't interfere with this one. The starter appears like it's going to be able to go in and out without having an issue. So let's tackle our next obstacle, make some adjustments. Alright, so these are the factory V8 mounts. And I'm going to be putting in the driver's side V6 mounts, which should pick me up an inch if they fit. The bolts are stepped back a little bit for the raised height, so that's good. I think these are going to get us right where I want it to be. Let me get them switched out and we'll put this thing back together one more time. You can see over on this side I made a bracket because there's one less boss on this side of the newer block. So the old mount fits, but you have to make a bracket for this side that bolts into the boss and connects your mounting plate to the engine. Nothing too major, but something that nobody talks about, and you know, hey, just drop a new engine in it, update it. Well, there's little things that need to be done, little things that need to be figured out. I was super glad I thought about the motor mount issue because actually the B vans have the B series Dodge and Plymouth vans used these mounts back in the day. I remember that from the 4x4 B100 that I four-wheel drive converted a few years ago. Let me get these switched out. So I finally think I figured out my header clearance issue. This is what they call for the V8. This is what came out of the car, and this is the V6 driver's side mount. Oops. And this is the mount I'm going to use on both sides, which will give me a little bit more clearance on my headers and should get me where I need to be. Hey, Houston, we have landed. So these two holes I need to use a sealant on because those are open into coolant passages. I'm using the 3/4 inch bolts in the front and rear tubes. I'm using 1 inch bolts in the center tubes. I've got a decent amount of play maybe over here. We'll see how that turns out. After we bolt it up tight, I'll probably have to clearance the torsion bar on this side as well. Get him, son! Yowzes. He's excited to get off work today. Well, I'm close, but not quite. I still need a little more clearance here. Otherwise it's gonna rattle like crazy. And now that I'm actually bolting up my headers tight, I'm actually hitting the steering column on this tube, which really shouldn't be a thing because there's room to move that pipe where it needs to be, but they didn't build it right, so gotta play with it a little more. I think I'm just gonna squish this tube, flatten it with the pipe bender if I can jig it up in there, or in the press. That'll be an easy solve. I'll do that cold in the press probably. Everything else on this header's looking pretty good. Just hitting that column. That's I like these headers because I don't have to wrap them through the torsion bars, but they definitely could have had some more attention to fitment when they built them. But that's the header life. The engine lift was quite nice with those motor mounts, engine mounts. So I think that's going to work out well for me. Now it doesn't take long to get this in and out. I only have 2 bolts stuck in here. I have 2 bolts in the bell, and then I have the 2 engine mounts. So it only takes about 15 minutes to pull the engine back out and get the headers back out of it. So it doesn't take that long to do this. It's just tedious. It's got to be done for good fitment. Looks like my sweep's going to clear here, so I don't think I'm going to have any rubbing there. So that's good. Alright, so I finally threw in the white flag and surrendered. These eBay headers are not going to work. This tube really needs to be about 1 inch longer, and it needs to be closer to the head surface. So you really need to be able to see that bolt straight through. You can see I had an interference issue on the rag link, on the gearbox, on the frame. And then on this one I had an interference with the body and the torsion bar. And before I put the thicker motor engine mounts in it, I had an interference here with the steering as well. So I surrender. I've wasted enough time on these. I'm going to move on to a set of Flowtechs made in the USA. And we'll get them unboxed and fit up. See what they look like. Hopefully they fit better than those other ones. They can't fit any worse. Let's get them out of the box and see what they look like. The header shape's better. The gasket flange design. So these are jet coated ones. Flange design looks good. It's got the good sealing surface that I like. Ouch. Profile's better. This pack of pipes is tighter. Let's get them on there and see what they look like. See how that pipe goes way farther over and is closer to the head surface. Nice thick flanges. I don't know if it's going to fit here, here, and here. Let's try them out. Well, let's see if this can be the last time I put this engine down in here. It probably won't be. That's okay. I would definitely recommend doing headers in these A-body Mopars when you're doing the engine, not when the engine's already in the car. So these header gaskets, if you allow them to be in the down position, they're going to have an exhaust leak out of the bottom. So when I tighten these down, and that's going to be tight for my exhaust seal. These gaskets really need to have maybe 1/4 inch of material on them here as well. Now again, if it's carbureted, it doesn't care, but when you're running fuel injection and you end up with exhaust leaks there, your O2 sensor isn't going to read correctly and your fuel injection system won't work. So right off the bat, my bolt fitment is good so far. I'll put the rest of my bolts in this side. We'll go ahead and tighten it down, and then we'll drop it into place with the other header, and we'll see what rubs, if anything. Hopefully nothing. This definitely has a tighter formation on the tubes, so it's looking pretty good. Well, this one's looking pretty good, except for the rag link, maybe. I don't know if the rag link's going to hit that or not. But the back tube's in a much better position against the steering column, so at first glance, these are definitely fitting better than those eBay units. I've had pretty good luck with the eBay units. I've usually been able to make them work, but this one definitely defeated me. But that's okay. You don't know unless you try. I'm gonna guess. Yeah, see, this tube clears way better over here. I still wish this was a little better, but I don't know what we're gonna do about that yet. Let's lock these down and see what kind of fitment we have, but right off the bat, it's looking better. I give you guys props. These are the best fitting headers I've had in a Chrysler A body. Now remember, I do have the taller engine mounts in this. I think for my clearance here on my rag link or my gearbox connector, I'm going to grind the corners off of this to where they clear. That way I don't run into the... I think it's just going to be... Oh, hey, you know what? It actually clears. It wasn't clearing before I tightened the header down. Wow, that is close. I'm still going to knock the corners off, but it clears. So these are the Flowtech 33100 FLT Mopar passenger car. Ceramic coated headers. And nice thick flange. I like the way the gaskets seal. I would really like to see the lower part of the opening be about a 1/4 inch taller for better gasket sealing, especially for fuel injection systems. But these are a far superior header compared to the eBay ones I had. I don't have any contact on the body. Let's check this. I'm gonna guess it's gonna hit the torsion bar over here. Let's look at it from underneath. Oh, I got contact there, which is a bummer. Should be good there. Let's see what I can do about over here. It really needs the whole collector to be over just like an inch, and that would give you the clearance you need there. Pretty close. I think we'll make them work. Wonder if I'm gonna have contact on that tube there. It might be okay. I don't know, because it's gonna sweep down towards it, so we're gonna have contact on the header, but it may not be a big deal. We'll see if it affects steering. One spot. Ooh, it's tight there too, but I might be able to, if I was worried about that, I'd probably grind the box out a little bit. Clearance it there. Not too bad for these Flowtechs. See if they hold their seal. I think I'm going to pick the engine up and see if those mounts will not unstretch themselves. It's going to need a lot of adjustment to that. That's what's distorting that engine mount. How am I going to fix that? Well, the Flowtech headers are better. Still don't fit. Not out of the box anyway. You know, after thinking about it, with this thing in the air, when this thing's on the ground, this torsion bar is not going to be in this puck spot. I'm going to leave this be for now and we'll get it on the ground. And I think it's going to be okay once it's sitting on the ground. I think that's going to rotate up just enough to be off that header. At least I hope it will be. I wasn't thinking about that when I was putting it in, but this side will have plenty of clearance. So with that, I think we're going to move forward onto the CVF pulleys. You can see how much that torsion bar is shoving the engine over. So hopefully that'll be squared up, similar to this mount, when it's sitting on the ground. We'll figure that out here in a little bit. And these headers fit with the factory steering gear too, which is good. Yay!
Yay, Flowtech.
I'm gonna sit back and enjoy not pulling the engine out of this car again.
Getting good at it, though.
Oh, it gets a lot easier the more times you do it.
Good news, it's only 15 minutes every time you do it.
Right.
Bad news is when you do it 10 times,
It's
that's
enough.
3 hours.
Yeah, well, yeah.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. That's alright. Lesson learned. We'll try Flowtechs first next time. Well, we'll probably cut this one off here. We have a ending with a success. Before I kick the camera. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.